Hey everyone, welcome to the Pretendo Podcast. It's been a while. Hurricane Irma certainly set us back a bit, so we have a lot to talk about today. But first, we're gonna share some of our birthday stories from the past because turns out that McKinley and I have birthdays right next to each other. One day, his is the 25th of September, and mine was the 24th of September. So we figure why not share some memories, some birthday memories. You go ahead. You go first.
Yes, so I just turned 25, and looking back on birthday memories is like kind of a blur. But the one that does definitely come to mind was my first console, because I didn't grow up with many consoles or anything like that. So my first console was actually the Nintendo 64 package that came with the first Pokemon Stadium game. So it was really cool. It was like congratulations for graduating. I was just going to from graduating from fifth grade into middle school, so that was cool. What I didn't know is that it was a little like space in the controller where apparently you could put cartridges in.
Yeah, there's a little packet that you put in the back, and then you would put for Pokemon Stadium. I think when it first came out, red and blue, and I think yellow were out. I don't know if gold and silver had come out yet, but I had that game too for the N64. Did you have any Pokemon games?
I didn't have any Pokemon games because my mom didn't know anything about that, so I didn't know anything about that.
So you just had to use what they had on the game.
Exactly. Right? But I did have a neighbor who figured it out. He had the cartridges. He had the Nintendo games. So when he'd come over to play on my 64, he would use his cartridges for his controller, but he wouldn't let me use any of his cartridges. So it was basically him and his super whatever Pokemon versus whatever I had in the game.
That's ridiculous. So he just made you use whatever was default on the game.
Exactly.
And then he would just come over with probably
all these rare Pokemon.
That's crazy.
Like, dude, you're a dick. But it's definitely memorable. It was still a good time, and it's still a fun game. So if you have the 64, if you ever want to do like a retro thing with 64, I definitely recommend Pokemon Stadium.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the more popular ones. That and Conker's Bad Fur Day and GoldenEye. GoldenEye was a game we played a lot on 64. My friends and I. Perfect Dark, actually. They were both made by Rare. I got Sonic 3 on a birthday. I don't remember exactly which one it was. Obviously a long time ago. That was a game for the Genesis that I played a lot. And I loved it. I think it's still my favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game. So can't beat that. Final Fantasy VII was a game that I think I got on my birthday. Still one of my favorite games. And Ocarina of Time I think I got on my birthday. So that not a bad run there, to be honest. Board game I got on... No, that's not true. That was a Christmas. Save that for a Christmas episode. Yeah, I mean, those are ones that I can remember just off the top of my head that I got when I was a kid. Obviously, when you become an adult, things are a little different, right? You know?
Definitely.
You have to buy your own presents, pretty much. I did, though. I bought myself the new Metroid game that just came out, Return of Samus, which I didn't know, actually, that it was just a remake of Metroid 2, so, which is fine, because I've never actually played through Metroid 2.
Oh, okay.
When I was a kid, I remember seeing it in, like, Nintendo Power and stuff, and wanting it. I'd never played Metroid 1, actually, at that point either, but for some reason, I had the Play It Loud Game Boy, which is the one that you can see through over there.
Oh, okay.
That's one I had, and I had Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge. That was the game that I had with it, and Tetris. Everybody had Tetris. But I remember seeing Metroid 2 and wanting it a lot, and I never actually played through it, so it's still a new experience, I guess, for me, playing it. Finding it wasn't super difficult, but I didn't know that there were amiibos being released with it. somehow I missed all that. I don't really watch Nintendo Directs and stuff, so sometimes I miss the important information. So the day it was released, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I set out to try and find some amiibos. As you can imagine, that didn't work out too well. Because like everything else Nintendo hypes up and sells, scalpers had already gotten their hands on pretty much everything. And the Hurricane, I guess, there was one Target I went to, and they didn't have anything. They didn't have the game, they didn't have the amiibos, they didn't have like the special 3DS that came out, because they didn't get any shipments in. Because it was right after, the Hurricane.
Right.
So, I kind of went online, and GameStop listed different stores that were supposed to have them, but when I got there, they didn't have anything. So, and they were like, yeah, you're not going to find them anywhere, which happened with, like, the Zelda amiibos and stuff like that. So, after eating lunch, I sort of, just on a whim, I stopped at Toys R Us to see if they had them, because sometimes they have stuff. They were fully stocked with the amiibos. Fully stocked with the new Metroid amiibos. Yeah. Not a single one was sold at that point. That's pretty surprising on a release day and having them in stock. Maybe not so surprising. Maybe people weren't out, after the Hurricane, like looking for them. But then they were going in all the GameStops and Targets and Walmarts. So maybe. Maybe not. Maybe they just missed it. So I got myself a couple of packages. I got one, obviously, for myself. And we have another one, of course, to add to our amiibo giveaway. And since you can't find them anywhere, this might be some people's only chance to get them. So while I'm on the subject of the amiibo giveaway, when you subscribe to this channel, you're automatically put into the pool when we do the drawings for the giveaways. However, you have to make sure that your subscriptions are not private on your profile, because if they're private on your profile, we can't see who's subscribed to us. We can see the number, like, let's say we had like 2,000 subscribers, but we only see like 100 of them, because only 100 of those subscribers actually have a public, have their subscriptions public.
Right.
So we don't know who you are, and there's no way for us to put your name or anything in a hat, which is probably the way we're going to draw it, and get those sent out to anybody. So when you subscribe, make sure that your subscriptions are public so that we can see who you are, and we can send you amiibos if you win them during the giveaways. That being said, we're going to do our first giveaway when we have 100 subscribers. So we're still a very young channel here, and we don't have that many subscribers. So this is a good chance, because maybe down the road we'll have 4, 5, or 200,000 subscribers, and your chances of getting an amiibo might be a little smaller than they are now. So please subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe, because once we hit that number, we're going to do a giveaway. We'll record it. We'll have everything there, and we'll let the person know who wins know. We're going to let them know that they've won. And we'll get their information so we can send everything off. So that plug is over. So moving on, Toys R Us, of all places, had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of Toys R Us, I think last week they filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't necessarily mean, a lot of people think that means that they're just going to close up and that's it. They're gone.
Right.
That's not what bankruptcy in the business world always means. They're definitely going to downsize. They're probably going to close a lot of stores, but they're not going to close all the stores, and they're not just going to close up. Eventually, maybe a few years down the road, they might disappear completely. But at the moment, they're probably just going to downsize a lot. They're probably going to close a few stores, and it's a whole process that they have to go through. Not a surprise to me, honestly. I don't know about you.
Well, when I heard this, I was like, I wasn't too surprised, because The last time I saw a Toys R Us commercial was probably when I was in middle school, probably when I was really young. I haven't heard any hype from them. So I was like, well, I guess since we have everything online for the most part, there are other places you can get the same things, like you were saying, the GameStops, the Targets, and all that stuff. Toys R Us doesn't even really come to mind when you think gaming.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that works out when you're looking for an amiibo that just came out, but not always, by the way. But I guess it's the same thing. I haven't really heard too much about it. Like, I go to Toys R Us because I know about it, and I know that some of them do have a very large amiibo section, but they don't have much in the way of actual video games.
Right.
And they don't usually have sales on them, so that's not something that you're gonna like. That's not your first go-to. They don't really appeal to children anymore because I think kids don't really play with toys so much. I mean, I know you've got things like Nerf guns, and you've got like Lego sets and video games, obviously, and like pop figures and things like that. But those are all things that you can also buy elsewhere. Right. Yeah, they're not exclusive to Toys R Us. So most people, if they're going to Target or something to buy something there, then they're just going to go see what they have. Like if there's a nephew's, birthday coming up or something like that. And I think that's what Toys R Us kind of became like. You go there for like Christmas time or like somebody's having a birthday or something like that. And that's kind of like the only times that you really go there.
Right.
Unless you're going there for a reason, like when I went for Pops and things like that. They do have a large selection, a growing selection of the world of Nintendo toys. They have the largest ones. Target used to sell a lot of them. I think they're kind of getting out of that game, so it has become one of the only places you can kind of go for those if you're collecting them like I do. You can see back there's a bunch of stuff. But I don't think for the size that they are, how big they are, and how many there are, I don't think it's not sustainable. Not at all. Not at all. Not in the and there's a lot of stuff in there. Like when I go into a Toys R Us, I go down like 3 aisles and that's about it. And then there's this whole rest of the store that, and I feel like that's kind of the same aisles that most people who go there go into. And you can't sustain a whole store full of stuff that nobody wants. Like there's so much stuff I walk by and I'm like, why is this even here? These aren't things people buy anymore. They're still selling toys that kids thought were cool in like, the 50s or something. And nobody buys that. Nobody. Unless it's some like grandparent who doesn't know, what kids want to play with. And it's just like, oh, here's a thing that goes into a closet, Done. Kind of sad, but
it's just another store, another chain on the list because we lost Radio Shack.
Well, yeah, Radio Shack they tried to change at least. They turned into a cell phone store, I think, was their last breath. Toys R Us hasn't tried to change, and I think that's a major reason why it's not doing very well. Also, I believe it's under the Sears umbrella. Sears also owns Kmart, and Sears isn't doing very well either. I mean, Sears stopped selling electronics and stuff. Really? I mean, I think they have a couple of things, but like they don't sell video games or anything like that anymore. And their clothes are like old people clothes or something. Nah. You know what I mean? Right. You don't go there really to shop for clothes. Nah. You'd go to like if you went to a mall or something and they had a Sears, you'd probably end up going to like JCPenney or something like that. Something that appealed to you, and Sears doesn't really sell much else other than that. There's some like cheap jewelry or something, I think. But that company as a whole, I think, is just falling apart. I know Kmart filed for bankruptcy, and that's probably what they do. These are the under companies, so they're going to cut those ones first before they have to start cutting up Sears. So I see that whole family of stores just disappearing. I could be wrong. It might be something else. I know they bought KB Toys way back when KB Toys, that mall toy store went out of business a long time ago. Wow. I got a lot of my X-Men figures from them on clearance when they were going out of business because they were like real cheap, and I just bought a bunch of stuff. for next to nothing. And that stuff had been sitting there, you know. They went out of business, I think, in like the early 2000s.
Right.
And that stuff had been there since the 90s, so even then toy stores were like, I think it's just Toys R Us. It's their time. It's time for them to go. Yeah. Everybody remembers like the theme song and everything, but I haven't really seen, like you said, I haven't seen a commercial in a long time. There was one commercial I think they were running with some actor from a Nickelodeon show. I saw that recently, but it was like just a boring commercial, and I didn't even have the theme song. Right. I was like, who's gonna go to Toys R Us? Nobody. And it was sad too. I remember it was almost like he was pleading with people to come. Don't let toys die or something like that. And it was like, ooh,
they're not gonna die. You just go to Amazon and eBay.
Yeah, you know, that's where it is. People are buying more stuff online, and you know, Target and Walmart have very well-developed online stores, you know.
Right.
Toys R Us, you can buy stuff on there, but you don't find everything that they have on there. They're not on top of it like that. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Sad. But I will keep my eye out now for if I do see Toys R Us buying me that's closing, because that's when the sales are gonna come out.
All those clearance.
Just come out and just swoop by and grab
all those liquidation sales.
Oh yeah. If I wish I paid attention to Radio Shack, I would have been all up in there.
I'll be interested to see like what they do, like what they do actually sell in the stores, because some stuff they're gonna make more money selling it, liquidating it to other businesses. So I doubt we're gonna see like cheap amiibos or anything like that. I don't think that's how it's gonna work. Sometimes stores, you know, will just liquidate everything they have right there in the store and sales and stuff, but more than likely they'll probably end up selling things bulk to other stores that buy stuff like that. Like I think Big Lots buys things in bulk like that and stuff. All these discount stores. And maybe, you know, when it comes to video games and electronics like that, maybe smaller video game shops, retro shops or something might buy out their inventories.
Gotcha.
There's not too many Toys R Us around. I can only think of maybe like 4 in like 50 miles from here, so there are already not that many. Because I can think of probably like 20 Targets or something, you know. Those are everywhere. Yeah, well, it happens. Things change. Speaking of change, one thing that we missed right before the hurricane hit, the internet kind of exploded, I guess because the Japanese page for Mario's description from Nintendo changed slightly. And I think the thing that set people off was at the very end of his description, it mentions him being a plumber a long time ago, which, just implies that he's not a plumber anymore. So people just went crazy about Mario not being a plumber anymore.
Right.
Thoughts? Because I have some, but...
I think it doesn't really matter. Unless they were unless it was like a thing of where they're going to do a Mario origin story, which they kind of already done with the what's the dinosaur's name again? The dinosaur that...
Yoshi. Yoshi's story.
Yoshi's island and stuff, which is kind of...
Yeah.
An origin for Mario anyway, so I don't see why it really matters either way.
Yeah, I don't... a lot of people got angry, and then other people were like, it doesn't matter, just like that. But to sort of talk about, like, people who get sort of upset or worried about it or whatever it is, he's not really been a plumber since his first, Super Mario Brothers appearance, to be honest. Like, you could argue maybe they were still plumbers, like, in the Mario Brothers game, the original one, where they're running through the pipes and chasing everything. Maybe that was part of their job, but ever since he landed in the Mushroom Kingdom, he's only just sort of stomped on Koopa Troopers and Goombas and, like, stopped Bowser and stuff. He hasn't actually plumbed anything. As far as I know, there are no games in which Mario and Luigi are actually plumbing anything. official games. Maybe somebody made something online or whatever, but as far as I know, there's no games that involve them plumbing anything. So, honestly, have they really been plumbers in, the past 30 years or whatever?
No, they've been more accurately race car drivers.
Yeah, I mean, they've just kind of been living in the Mushroom Kingdom just doing whatever. I don't think they've really been plumbing anything, so maybe their union kicked them out or something. They haven't worked in so long and they haven't been back in the real world.
That should be a new game title. Like Mario's trying to find a new job, like
right.
Family Guy style.
Right.
He just goes to different jobs. I would play that.
Oh my gosh. Mario Odyssey coming out. I did see some gameplay of it. It's, I don't want to be that guy, but it just kind of looks like another Mario game, which is fine if that's the sort of thing you get into, but it doesn't really seem like groundbreaking to me or anything like that. I know Nintendo's really trying to push it, but, I'm not somebody who hates on Mario games, even, newer ones. I loved Mario Sunshine. I kind of liked Mario's 3D World. That came out for the Wii U. That was pretty fun. The new Super Mario Brother games were fine, but Mario Odyssey just looks like more of the same. So I don't know, sure, I'm sure there's a couple more power-ups or something, but
really, what else can they do with the Mario game?
I mean, they already have Mario Kart games, which are real fun. Speaking of Mario Kart games, because of Hurricane Irma, we never got the chance to go to a Nintendo World Championship playoff, or whatever you call them. Qualifying, that's what it was. We're supposed to have one down here in Miami, and of course it got postponed, and last time I checked on the website, there hasn't been anything new about it. It said that they might schedule a makeup date for it, but they weren't sure, and that's still what it says on the website, so...
That's super weird.
So that's where we're at, which I don't know if that throws them off, because I think they were supposed to have 16 contestants playing at the major actual event in New York, so they'll only have 15, so it's an uneven number, so I don't know if that's going to mess around with how they do the rounds and everything.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to be able to figure out how to eliminate other people, or they're going to have a different way of eliminating if they don't do a makeup. And at this point, I mean, it's in a couple of weeks, so pretty much seems like they're not going to do a makeup event, which sucks for Miami area.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's a lot of areas that just didn't get anything at all.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing is, it's called the Nintendo World Championships.
Right.
And the qualifying things were only in the United States.
Well, doesn't America do that all the time?
But what's weird about that is Nintendo is a Japanese company.
Damn,
you would think at least some of them would have happened.
Again,
at least one, maybe in Tokyo or something.
Like, no, the Japanese are going to take
so,
okay. They need it to be fair.
Whatever they want to do.
And if anybody has any different information, please leave it in below.
Yeah, you guys have any other information, feel free to let us know down in the comments. We don't do a lot of research. I'm not going to lie. I don't have time for it. We don't fact check a lot, but I will be watching the NWC when it happens. So we'll see who the next winners are. Probably not going to be us. Probably wasn't going to be us anyway, to be honest.
I mean, speak for yourself.
Well, the qualifier, I think the qualifying was doing some tracks on Mario Kart 7 as Bowser in the older than 13, I think, range. And I've never played Mario Kart 7, so I was just going to kind of wing it. Let's see what happened.
Was the game you played was supposed to be different from any of the other?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I think it was a specific track that already existed, which just means that anybody could sit at home and play for hours and hours and hours and get really good at it as Bowser to practice and then go into the place and then do it. But I don't think they changed anything specifically for it. They didn't make any special levels or anything like that. So I'm interested to see who the next Nintendo World Champion will be. Also, if you haven't watched it, the Gamer Pups trained for the Nintendo World Championships. If you want to watch that video, go ahead and click it. It will be on this video or it will be on our channel. So go ahead and check it out. It's real fun. Yeah, I don't... Getting back to Mario, I got sidetracked a lot there. Yeah, I don't really see a difference. Like, I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think it deserved as much attention as it got. I know the internet like exploded with it, and people were like the same that we were. Where it was like, was he really a plumber? I mean, some people were just like, he's a video game character. Who cares? Other people were really devastated. Like, what's he gonna do now? He says, this is who he is. This is what he's been. You always get that sort of reaction when there's a change in a character or something. Like when Peter Parker died, or when Wolverine died. I think Logan's still dead in the main Marvel universe. I think they tried to replace him with X-23 and an alternate old man Logan version. But I don't know. I haven't paid attention to that stuff in a long time.
Yeah, all I care about is a good story. As long as it's a good story and enjoyable, bring it.
Right. And we're coming up on the holiday season, and it seems kind of lean in the video game department.
Yeah.
It just seems like they released a lot of the... Like, Zelda was released with the Switch, and I get that, pairing that together, that's what sold the Switch, because honestly, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and maybe Splatoon 2 are, like, really the only two games that I can think of on the Switch that, like, there are other games, and maybe people are into those, but I'm just not into anything else that's out for the Switch at the moment. Like, I didn't care about the 1-2 switch. That ARMS game kind of looks neat, but I'm not a one-on-one sort of fighter game person, so I don't care about that. So that throws, that Street Fighter game that came out the window. And to an extent, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, I mean, I probably would just buy that for PS4 or something. Like, it's not an exclusive Switch game.
Right.
And they like re-released like that Pokken Tournament on the Switch, and I'm like, I didn't care for the game on the Wii U, so I don't care about the game on the Switch. Yeah, I don't think, as far as Nintendo goes, I don't see much coming out for the holiday season. Like the SNES Classic is, and you can't get it anyway, so that's out the door. And I don't believe that the next shipment of the NES Classics is going to be until after the holiday season. So I guess that's it for Nintendo. They just released, the Metroid game for 3DS. And I think that was one of their bigger titles to come out. I know everybody's talking about Mario Odyssey, but like I said, that just seems like it's just another Mario game. Something that... doesn't break any new ground as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Maybe it will, but I'm not. It's not something I'm going to buy on release. If I hear really good things about it, then maybe I'll purchase it. But other than that, nope. I don't think there's any new Pokemon games scheduled to come out.
No, not for this year.
They just came out with Sun and Moon.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Nintendo's just for the holidays, just.
Well, I think that's most consoles, to be fair. I don't see anything too interesting for the PS4. I mean, if you're a football fan, you got the new football game. If you're
there was a thing around here, at least. I think maybe it was because of the hurricane. Because when I was going around looking for amiibos, there was a huge problem with the new basketball game, the 2K18, I think. I think like the stores didn't get the shipments. So, like, it messed everything up, and people, like, there were huge lines and stuff, and they were waiting to get this new game, and I'm like, let's be honest, guys. come on, let's think about this for a second.
Yeah.
In like 2 months, the game's gonna be like a $5 game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know people who, they buy these sports games every single year when they come out. That's their thing. They buy the new Madden, they buy the new 2K, they buy all this stuff. That's their thing. I get that. But it's no big loss because, the games don't change that much. There might be a different player on a different team. But, in a few months, you're going to be able to buy it for next to nothing. So, don't worry about it.
That's the thing about having like the year and the title of your game. All you have to wait is for the year to be almost over, and then it's like,
yeah. There was Destiny 2, right? Came out. Did it come out yet, or is it coming out? I don't remember. Not a game that I play, obviously. So I know that was a big title that a lot of people. There was a new Assassin's Creed. I don't think anybody gives a crap about Assassin's Creed anymore.
Why is that still a thing?
I don't know. They have to, they milk a franchise as much as they can. Some of these franchises, and like you could talk about like Nintendo does the same kind of thing with Mario. They milk those franchises as much as they can, but the games are a little bit different quality. Like if you look at a Legend of Zelda game, they come out, maybe every 5 or 6 years, and they're quality games. They're games that get, good reviews. They're enjoyable games. Assassin's Creed, they come out with a new game every year, and they usually get like mediocre to terrible reviews. So I think you just have to, if you're waiting a little longer for the next edition in the franchise and it's really worth it, then it's a more enjoyable experience than buying a game for $60 and it's just kind of like a who cares kind of game. I was talking with my mother a couple of days ago because she obviously knows nothing about video games, and when I was a kid, it would be like I'd tell her what game to get, and sometimes I would get that game. But like parents, at least our parents, were always like, "Oh, whatever, video game's a video game. It's all the same," She was surprised to find out that the price of new video games has remained almost exactly the same. Since even when I was a little child, like new Nintendo games were $50, some $60. So new games are still $50, $60.
Right.
I think when we bought our Nintendo, I think they paid $150, maybe $200 for the console. I don't remember what it was, and we had the action set, so we had like the gun and stuff with it. So consoles, I think, have gone up a little bit. Because like a new Xbox One, brand new, special, whatever thing is like $500, something like that. So those have gone up a bit. But the games themselves, the cost of new games themselves has remained pretty much the same for like 30 years. Right. So you can't complain that much about it. Obviously you look at the games before and you're like, well, how would you pay $50 for it? Well, it was new and that's what was, you could do at that time. So it's no different than now.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just looking up at the Metroid amiibos and just still kind of surprised that I found just a fully stocked Toys R Us with them at like 6 o'clock in the evening on a release day. So it was like nobody knew that they would have any. It's crazy. The game's not terrible, it's just a remake of that game, so it's very much a 2D Metroid game in that sense. It feels like that same thing,
so it's like
which is cool.
Overhyped?
Well, I wasn't really paying attention to the hype of it to begin with. I knew it was coming out. I didn't know when it was coming out. I only found out that day. I was scrolling through, like, Facebook or something, and I saw, like, a thing, oh, I've seen the games and amiibos here, and I was like, oh, did that come out? And, I was like, well, I can go buy it, it's a little birthday gift to myself, so I went out and went looking. I didn't have much to do that day anyway. It was a few days after the hurricane had hit, and when the hurricane comes and power goes out and all this stuff, you get sort of like cabin fever, and you're just like, well, let me get out of here. Stores had started opening back up and stuff. There were still some stores that were closed, but so you just want to get out of the house and do something. So it's like, I might as well do that. You know, I think the power was still out in my house, so I just want to get out and just do something. I think that's about it for us today. I don't think we have anything else to talk about. I think that catches us up with the last few weeks. Yeah, so subscribe. Let's get to that 100 subscribers so that we can do our first amiibo giveaway. Make sure that your subscriptions are public, because we will not see your name on the list of subscribers if they are not. And if we don't see a name, we don't have a name to pull out of a hat. So thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time. It's Jason.
McKinley.